Can we please ask the Minister for Environment, Jane Davidson, to come and close our screening evening?
Well, thank you very much, Kirsten. Thank you very much, Peter. But more specifically, thank you very, very much to the children from the schools and the films that we've seen this evening. I mean, I feel really privileged to have come and joined you here this evening. Interestingly enough, I started as Education Minister in the Assembly government some 11 years ago, and I spent 7 years as Education Minister and actually introduced the policy on able and talented, which your schools are using today, and also introduced the foundation phase, the Welsh Baccalaureate, and Education for Sustainable Development and Global Citizenship. And in the 4 years in which I've been Environment Minister, I have had the enormous pleasure of working with so many people who are absolutely passionate about the environment. And one organisation that you have saw at the end of those films, but hasn't actually been mentioned much this evening, is an organisation called Environment Wales. And the Assembly Government funds Environment Wales to develop projects and initiatives across Wales with small grants that will really encourage people to have a better relationship with their environment. And therefore the films were funded through Environment Wales, and it's exactly the kind of funding that should be used to help the next generation understand the importance of the decisions that people make around the environment. And I say that because there's been a huge amount that has happened in the last few years. All those of you who care about the sea, and you probably wouldn't be living here if you didn't, but all those of you who care about the sea, after 30 years lobbying, we now have a Marine and Coastal Access Act. And that Marine Act now requires all governments in the United Kingdom to develop appropriate policy that's joined up at the country borders and links over with what happens in Northern Ireland and Ireland as well. And also look at ensuring that there are highly protected marine conservation zones. As Peter said earlier on, the Welsh Government has led the way in terms of ensuring that more of its coastline and more of its sea are designated than almost any other part of the UK, and certainly more than many other countries in Europe. But we all have to be mindful about what we do in regards to our coastal environment. And when I was looking at that second film about litter, we actually have in Wales the second worst litter in the United Kingdom on our beaches. Now we're all part of that if we leave stuff on our beaches. And the person who commented about cotton buds, every year when the Marine Conservation Society do their survey, one of the things they find more than anything else is cotton buds. Now I have to say, as somebody who's never used a cotton bud, I don't know what they're used for, but please don't drop them on beaches or down our sewers, because they just cause tremendous problems. And we also know that part of the reason that we do have so much litter on our beaches is actually not what we produce ourselves from the land, but of course we have the southwesterly winds, the prevailing winds in the United Kingdom, which bring more litter onto the coasts of southwest England, and the second most amount of litter in the UK onto the Welsh coasts. So we do see huge amounts of fishing litter on our shores, and that fishing litter is dangerous, as we've seen. But we also know, here particularly, the 15th anniversary of the Sea Empress, and I was down here last weekend speaking at the Coast Guard rally in terms of trying to defend Coast Guards against any incursion on their current roles and responsibilities. We have a very, very important relationship with the sea in the UK, and I think a particularly important relationship with the cetaceans in Cardigan Bay. Part of the reason that I'm moving back to Pembrokeshire, having started off living in St Dogmell's many years ago when I taught in Cardigan School, and I'm now coming back to live in St Dogmell's, so just in Pembrokeshire on the new boundaries. And part of the reason I'm doing that is through the 80s, I swam with dolphins in Mont. And in the last few years, I have been out a number of times in Cardigan Bay, particularly out in the smalls, where I have seen a pod of some 300 common dolphins. I've seen risso dolphins. I've seen minke whales. Last year, off the Pembrokeshire Coast Path, we saw a mola mola, a sunfish. We have the most extraordinary opportunities to see wildlife in natural habitats here. The number of seals we have on our coast, the opportunities we have to see those seal babies. We should be celebrating that, and we want to make sure for the future that all children, through their education, have a better engagement with the environment. So as I stand down from the Assembly, which I'm doing today, this is my very last engagement after 12 years in the Assembly, and I cannot think of a more fitting way to finish than to be with young people demonstrating a passionate love from the environment, having been supported through the education system by their schools and by a grant of Environment Wales. Please carry on what you're doing now, and your newfound knowledge make you eco-warriors for the future to make sure others learn from what you've done. Thank you very much.